Hello, this is Howie here with Cedar Creek Homestead. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I've got a quick little video here I want to make about maintaining your freezers. Most homesteaders have a freezer or two or three. We have 3 freezers and 2 refrigerators, 2 side by sides, and so we store a lot of food here at the homestead in our freezers, and they're very vital to our success here as homesteaders. If you have a beef and you butcher your entire beef, and we usually do that once a year. We share it with some of our family and stuff, but you can get a lot of money. You can easily get $1,000. Around here lately, the beefs that we've butchered would have probably brought $1,000 or roughly that price at the sale. Plus, we spend about $500 to get them butchered. So the importance of having our freezer properly maintained, and these are some things that a lot of folks don't think about that I wanted to show you here in this video. I have done heating, air conditioning, and refrigeration, appliance type repair for 30 plus years. That's been my career. What I went to school for was for heating, air conditioning, and refrigeration technology. So I've done that now all this time. A homestead. I do have a business in this field of HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, refrigeration, and we also do home appliances. But I'm not asking for your business, although that would be nice. But we have a lot of subscribers, and the ones that's in Canada and Pennsylvania and Massachusetts and places like that, and Texas. We just can't go that far, and we stay plenty busy right here. Me and my son, he works for me, and we work together every day, and we stay right here in our little small town that we live in of about 800 people, and just right here locally we stay covered up all the time. We cover about 15-mile radius from our home, but we stay all we can possibly do year-round to stay caught up. So I'm not looking for more business, but I thought I would share something with folks and might help you out a little bit here. And this freezer here we bought last year, so it's a newer freezer, and it's a Frigidaire freezer. Now we have it out here on the back porch, and you can see some bugs get stuck on it and things. That doesn't hurt anything at all. One important thing is to have you a thermometer in here, and as you can tell, this thermometer is getting right down there pretty close to 0. This freezer's don't look at what's in here or the things that's going on, but the thermometer is back in here in the back behind these plastic bags, and you want to adjust that until you can get your temperature down to around 5 degrees, and preferably you want to have it down to 0 on your freezer. Another thing you want to make sure of is that you have proper airflow and ventilation. You can see this freezer here is out from the wall a little bit. I hope you can see that on the camera. The condenser, the part that gets hot, if you've ever been around an air conditioner, something like that, the part that gets hot, your condenser, is usually, you can see a coil, an area like down at the bottom back here. On some refrigerators will have a coil back here in the back. On most of your freezers now, whether they're a chest freezer or an upright, the coil is made into this wall. So you may feel that this wall gets warm from time to time. You may also feel that the other wall gets warm. That is perfectly normal. Nothing wrong with that. Also, you may feel that this area in here may get a little bit warm around the edges here of your refrigerator. That might get, this one's just a little bit warm, and that is normal when it's running. They have a Freon tube that comes, a hot gas Freon tube that runs the perimeter of your door. And the purpose of that is to keep this from sweating when it's running. It's very, very cold. If you feel this right now, this gasket's actually a little bit warm, and that is normal on a freezer for that gasket to be warm. And the reason for that is they don't want this sweating right here, which could cause you a lot of problems. So they heat that up just a little bit with a Freon line that runs from your compressor around. Used to, you would see switches on freezers and stuff that would say energy saver, and you could flip them over, and it's because they had a heater that ran around that. Well, nowadays, to save energy, they run a Freon tube around there, but your hot coil, the part that gets hot, is actually in these walls. Now this one feels good. It actually isn't running right now, and it doesn't feel hot or nothing, but if you lock this up in a building, in a garage or somewhere like that, in a barn with no ventilation, and it gets 100 degrees like it has been here lately in Oklahoma, you will ruin your freezer. These are not meant to be in that kind of hot environment. You can put back here in the back where your compressor area is, I don't know if I can, yeah, I can move that a little bit even though it's full. Your compressor is back here in this area. This compressor needs to stay cool too. There's nothing to cool it. No fans back here. On your household refrigerators, you usually have a fan that helps blow across that compressor and keep it cool. On these most freezers nowadays, your uprights or chest freezers do not have a fan back here. Frigidaire, I'll get it right here in a minute. They did make a little kit where you could add a cooling fan on here. You could have someone that knew what they were doing add a fan onto this and would help. But most freezers that I go to are ruined because they put them in a garage or an area that's not ventilated and they overheat. Right back here too, you'll see a little switch. This is a little clock that runs, this little white box back here. And what that does is once a day, it kicks the freezer into defrost mode. And when it kicks it into defrost mode, it has a heater built in. Back here behind, there's a plate you can't see because we've got this full of food, but there's a metal plate back there. It has a coil, looks like a radiator coil back there that gets extremely cold, and it has a heater built in there because as the moisture comes in here, like right now I got this open, this air is full of moisture. It's going to condense on that coil back there and it's going to freeze. So once a day, that little clock turns around, and actually it's every 12 hours on this one, but every 12 hours it kicks into defrost cycle. And what it does, it kicks on that heater, melts any ice that's back there, it runs down into a drain by your compressor. You never have to clean that drain because it's so warm down there that it will evaporate, the water will. So it's something you don't have to worry about. It's all automatic, but sometimes your box will quit cooling. And the reason is that that clock has went out or the heater has went out and it's no longer defrosting. And you've got to be able to get air circulation on an upright. On chest freezers, they do not have a fan inside. But this one down here in the bottom has a fan, and it has ductwork that comes up. And right up in here, if you could feel this, there's cold air blowing out. And what the idea is, this cold air blows down, recirculates, and keeps this all cool. If it doesn't defrost, there's no circulation of air. It also has a little fan. That little fan can go out, and you're no longer circulating air in your box, and you'll begin to see your temperature warm up. Now, I've had this open, and it's up to 30 degrees right now. Stuff's not thawing because as soon as I close the door, because this thing's full, it'll cool right back down. It's running right now, won't be no big problem. I also want to say that if your freezer isn't full, fill up water jugs, milk jugs, pop jugs, whatever, and put in this thing and fill up any empty space that you may have. If now this is pretty full, there's no need to worry about it. But if it was empty, say this shelf was empty, you would need to fill up pop bottles and let them freeze in there, and that helps keep it cold. If you lose electricity and you have all this ice in here, it will make it stay cold longer. It also doesn't have to run as much when you have it full of stuff. So if you don't have enough food to fill full, add you some bottles in there, fill them about 3/4 full of water and put in there, and it'll stay cold. It'll do better for you. When you open the door and stuff, it won't have to run as long to get cold and to cool back down. Also, if you lose electricity, leave this door shut. Unless you just absolutely have to get in there, don't open it. And these things will stay cold for at least 12 hours with no electricity if you'll keep this thing cold. I've had ours be off before as long as 24 hours and could not tell that anything had thawed out. Maybe ice cream was starting to get soft, but if you'll keep it closed, if you have a chest freezer, keep it closed. Now, one thing to think about on an upright freezer like this is your cold air drops out. When you open this door, it's cold right here. It's coming all out. So you don't want to open the door on this no more than you have to anyway. Now, I realize I'm really opening the door up today, but normally you wouldn't open your door this much as I am right now. But you want to keep it closed. And especially in the time of a power outage, you don't have to be just terribly alarmed if you'll keep it closed. Now, I have no way of knowing if this box is cooling other than to open up and see inside. So every day, I'm usually on the back porch here. We like to sit out here and have coffee and stuff on the back porch, and I'll hear it kicking on, and I can pay attention. If it seems to be running all the time or something like that, I would know to come over and look. We have another one in the house here that has a computer on it, and I'll show this to you real quick right here. And this one here has a little board on it that tells you the temperature of your freezer, so you can keep you can keep a good eye. And it also has an alarm that will go off. Of course, this one here doesn't have anything like that, so it has the alarm on it, and I have to keep an eye on it in case something went wrong. We've never had any trouble with it, and like I say, it's just about a year old, so it's not no biggie and shouldn't be having trouble. But let me tell you, brand new ones break down. I want to show you something else here that you can do as a real quick fix, is get some petroleum jelly. And this says cocoa butter, but it doesn't have to be flavored or whatever. That was just in there. My wife has it in the bathroom, but I got it out here. But take you a little bit of this petroleum jelly and get a little bit on your finger and go around your gaskets once a year. Just make a thin layer right around the edges here. I hope this is showing up on the camera. You don't need to do a whole lot. I have shared this with people before, and it looks like they've took a caulking gun and went down through here. Just a very thin layer. Just do it once a year. And what that'll do, that'll help this gasket seal better. Also, the gasket has a magnet in it, which helps it seal. But this petroleum jelly will keep it from sticking. And a lot of times I'll go out, and right down here in the corner especially will be sticky. If you spill something and it gets in this area, this gasket's magnet and it wants to stick. But if you have something liquid that gets spilt on here that's sticky, it'll cause this gasket to pull and it will tear that gasket. These gaskets are pretty pricey, so you don't want to tear your gasket. Also, if it gets tore, you'll start getting a snowstorm inside your freezer. But just take you some petroleum jelly. This one's outside, so our gasket's getting a little dirty, but that don't hurt nothing. I mean, it's not going to affect your food. It might affect you if you're real conscious of that kind of stuff, but especially your corners. Just do a little thin layer. Like I say, I had a guy one time that he done this, and I told him over the phone what to do, and then I went out there for a call, and he had me look at it, and he had it so cocked up with petroleum jelly. And if your gaskets are dirty, like this one has some dirt on there, you can take some mild soapy water and just clean that all up. But when you got one outdoors, it's going to start looking like this, and that's just, you have flies, whatever, land over it. I can't help that part. The one inside there is much cleaner because it's kept inside. In fact, if you can keep them in a controlled environment, like inside where you have air conditioning, stuff like that. I know there's a lot of off-gridders, and you're running yours on solar, and a lot of off-gridders will run their on solar during the daytime when they have plenty of electric, and they have them rigged up on timers that shut them off at night. But they'll usually have them outside somewhere or in the house, but there's no air conditioning. So it is rough on these if they're just closed up somewhere totally cold. Now right now, this wall, this has kicked back on and started running, and this wall here's warm. One more quick tidbit. Over here on this side, it has a door lock. You can get a little key and put in there. They come with the key. You can lock this if you want to. The thing I wanted to say was, don't drill holes in these and put your own locks. People do. I had a lady a while back rent 2 freezers, and they drilled holes on the door handle side. On the other side over there, they drilled a couple of holes here and a couple here to put a latch. Well, there's Freon lines all in this right here, and you will ruin your perfectly good freezer. What it'll do, you'll hit those Freon lines, it leaks all the Freon out, and there's no way to get into this part. When they build this at the factory, they lay out a big sheet of metal, they put in a liquid foam, and they fold this all up. This big square here is folded. And when they do that, they lay the coils in there and everything, and they put this plastic liner that's inside here, and all of that is stuck in there and foamed. And so if you drill into this on the other side and you hit these Freon lines, you're pretty much ruined. You might as well just throw it away and go do something else. So you got little locks out here. If that ain't good enough, then get you a Doberman pincher or something like that to protect your freezer. Anyway, hey, we appreciate you watching today. I hope you enjoyed this little tidbit here. Might help you if you have a freezer. The same ideas will work on a chest freezer. If you have an old freezer, and I'm saying probably 30-year-old or older, some things may be a little bit different than this, but the modern day refrigerators that we've had the last 20 or so years that run off of 134A refrigerant, like this one does, that's pretty much how they're all laid out. And if you have a chest freezer, it does not have a fan. It doesn't do defrost. Most chest freezers you have to defrost. There are some models that you can pay extra. It's got a little button that you can push and defrost, but most, like my parents have a couple down here that every year or so they have to empty it out, unplug it, and let it thaw. There are even a few of these uprights like I've got. You can get one that is not frost free, so once a year you have to unplug it. I like the frost free type. You know, they just automatic everything. You just don't have to worry about defrosting. The only problem is with an automatic defrost, there's more stuff to break down, and also it pulls more energy because it kicks in every once in a while. You know, every 12 hours this one kicks in, and it's got that heater that kicks on. So if I was on solar, that's going to pull a whole lot more energy for that little spell. It's usually only lasts about 5 minutes, the defrost cycle, so you're pulling 5 or 6 amps for about 5 minutes. So it's not really that long, but if you were off grid and you're running on solar, that's just something you might want to take into consideration. You can get one that's a manual defrost, then you wouldn't have to worry about that. Anyway, that's a quick overrun of freezers, and like I say, I hope this helps you. I appreciate you watching. If you haven't already, if you'd subscribe and like our channel and make a comment. If you got a question, put it in the comments and I'll try to answer. I have debated about telling what I do a while back because I thought, well, I'll get just so many questions I wouldn't be able to answer them all. And my wife, she said, I think it'd be good to share some tips with folks on what to do. So I hope this helps you with your freezer. We appreciate you watching. God bless you. We'll see you next time here at Cedar Creek. We're gone.